Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with me today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with me, I'm glad you're here. Each week, I'm here with you talking to myself about things that weigh on my mind and heart, hoping if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust both our perspectives as you listen. Hey, if you're struggling with something that needs immediate attention, please know that help is available. Just dial 988 nationwide in the U.S. to reach the Mental Health and Suicide Crisis Hotline. All of us here at CLW Studios believe that mental health is a vital part of our well-being. The more people I meet and the more places I go, the more I realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of your life that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy. And this week, the three fingers pointing back at me are for entering my Villan Era. Yeah. As Halloween approaches, this kind of thing becomes more and more prevalent. It comes to the forefront of a lot of our consciousness, of our awareness, especially for those of us who are recovering people pleasers or those of us who are still struggling. Pointing fingers at myself just so we're 100% clear. When we start to set healthy boundaries, when we start to say no to things, when we start to prioritize our own projects and passions and those sorts of things instead of just accepting everything the way it is, and we start to speak up about it, we start to put those things in place, we start to put people in their places whenever they expect or request too much of us. Once or twice, absolutely, you can bring it to someone's attention very gently. As that continues, if it persists, you can absolutely start applying more pressure to it, a little bit more assertive approaches, those kinds of things. I think it's really interesting. A friend of mine said something like this a while back, and I thought it was great. And I said, I think I'm about to start my villain era. I'm going to prioritize myself and what it is that I want and those kinds of things just a little bit higher than just about everything else out there. And I have that luxury, I have that privilege because being a single man in this world, that's what I'm doing. I'm watching out for the person that is my family, and that's me. Of course, you've got people that you choose. You've got your friends, your family, your tribe, those kinds of people that, of course, will come in there as well. It's so important to make sure that we put ourselves just ever, ever, ever so slightly higher to make sure that we can take care of ourselves. So in turn, we can take care of others. Sometimes the way we can do that comes across as a little abrupt, perhaps a little harsh, perhaps a little less pleasant than a lot of people in our lives would like to think. And you know what? I'm just going to have to make my peace with that. To some people, that makes me an absolute terrible person. And it's just hilarious for me to watch. You can be golden child your entire life. And just about the time that you realize that a whole lot of that was completely unnecessary and somebody was just shuffling off their own responsibilities or their own preferences onto you, or somehow projecting what they wanted out of their own life onto you and expecting you to do that sort of thing. When you take the reins again, sometimes that puts you in a very unfavorable light with some who don't realize that you're merely living your damn life. And that can come across as very harsh. And it's funny because whenever I think of villains, what comes to mind when you think of villains, right? For me, it's that stovepipe top hat. It's the twirling of the mustache, the monocle. Some of the old timey cartoon uh, bad guys, they would have like the humpback or that little the squint. You know what I mean? Well, I don't necessarily want an outward indicator of me entering my villain era. What I would like is just improved respect from those around me. And I don't think that's something necessarily I suffer from. I am, I give a lot of myself, and sometimes that can get just a little bit much for me. So, what I have learned to do recently and will continue to learn and improve is I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, I just can't do that. And sometimes you don't have to worry about the I'm sorry. And sometimes no is 100% its own answer and its complete sentence. We've heard that said before. You've heard that said here a few times. And I want to make sure that we are fully aware of all the things that may come when we go to take care of ourselves, instead of trying to keep all of these plates spinning on all of these sticks around us. You might come across as the bad guy. We might come across as the bad guy. And you know what? I would love to be known for the bad guy for something like that than for a lot of the other things that I see happening in the world around us. Okay, great. I'm still going to help when I can. I'm still going to offer as much of myself as I can to those that I love. And I'm going to feel amazing about it. And whenever I reach a point where I'm starting to feel a little spread thin, or I'm starting to feel just a little bit depleted, I'm going to take time and I'm going to reassess. I'm going to look to the things that I can cut from my life so that I don't have to worry about those kinds of things anymore. It's interesting to watch a lot of these things sort of unfold as well. I get invitations to these kinds of things, and I'm grateful. Like, I love that people want to spend free time with me. I do. It's not that I want this to come across as anything other than that. And whenever I look at some of these invitations, I'm like, nope, I just simply do not have the bandwidth for that. I would rather be sitting at home in my pajamas, perhaps watching Netflix with a hot cup of tea underneath a fuzzy blanket because it's fuzzy blanket season. Hey, yeah. Instead of out and spending more of um, my social currency on something that doesn't necessarily make me feel any better. I'm trying to get back on top of my fitness. I'm trying to make sure that my clean eating is in order. These kinds of things. Whenever I put myself in a position of social interaction, sometimes the expectation of that goes against the goals that I've set for myself. Okay, not to say that I'm unforgiving with those kinds of things. Yeah, whenever I have been, clean eating for a consistent amount of time, for say, 5, 6 days, I will gladly go out and enjoy a meal that doesn't necessarily fall within the plan. Do you notice how I didn't say cheat meal? I'm not cheating. What I'm doing is just enjoying something outside of the structure and the discipline that I've put up for myself. I'm not cheating on anything. What I'm doing is making choices about what I'm doing that don't necessarily speed me towards my goal. It's also one of those things where I need to be just a little bit more gracious with myself so that I can continue to be dedicated and motivated to achieving those goals. Too long on any kind of situation that is not necessarily fun or delicious is going to make it a little difficult to stick to it. But hey, if I get outside the lines, if I color just a little bit outside the lines every once in a while, I can come right back to the discipline after I feel as though I have had that breathing room, that moment to sort of relax from the relentless. Not that it's relentless, but it can feel that way some days whenever we walk down the street and literally temptation is knocking and pulling on every door and from every direction. Villain Era is going to appear to some that you don't want to spend time with them, with others. That isn't necessarily the case. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you. It's just that I have reached a point in my love tank where I need to take a little bit of a moment and let that refill. Sometimes I can force it. Sometimes I just need to kind of let it fill on its own. I have this vision in mind where, for whatever reason, there are like marshlands and things like that that I have seen on these wonderful nature programs, and people will be walking through them, and it looks like solid ground, but they take their bare hands and they dig just a small hole, just like maybe 6, 8 inch hole into the ground, and once they remove the soil, you can see it start to fill from the bottom up with this rich, dark green, nutrient filled, not necessarily potable water. And that is the vision that I get for myself whenever I'm like, this is a very busy time for parties and get togethers and gatherings. And though I want to be with my friends and I definitely want to make appearances and I want to come across as fun loving and extroverted and enjoyable in the life of the party and any of these kind of things, I also need to pay homage to the fact that I get tired. Oh, I hate admitting it. I hate admitting it. I used to love to go out and do these kind of things and stay out till 2, 3 in the morning. And now I love being home. And whether that's age or whether that's being conditioned after, being in lockdown for a couple of years or any number of things, or maybe it's just the fact that I just would prefer the quiet and the peace instead of the drama and the crazy. And that's fine too. And it's coming to full recognition of those kinds of things. I think it's really important to look at those situations, those types of things, and ask yourself the questions. We're always talking about checking in here. How do I feel about that? This sounds fun. This sounds amazing. Oh, the people there, I haven't seen them in a while. I would love that. Yes. You look at some of these other things, you're like, oh, okay, that's really far away. That takes a lot of effort to get there. That is not enjoyable. It's okay to say that. Please be mindful about to whom you say it. But some of these things you like that just does not sound fun to me. There's nothing wrong with staying home and taking care of your own business in PJs and a fuzzy blanket versus going out to these things and not enjoying yourself, spending your money, wasting your time, getting there and not enjoying yourself whenever you could have been sitting in front of the television watching their streaming service you already pay for. Wow, that sounds very curmudgeonly there, James. Yeah, it can. It can come across like that. And what I'm here to do is give you just a little bit more permission to say those kinds of things, do those kinds of things, not do those kinds of things. It's one of those things where we, especially around the holidays, they're coming up. Like the winter holidays are upon us, and they are gift giving and they are draining. They're also difficult for people who don't necessarily get along with family, people who don't have family or close friends that they can gather with around these very socially oriented gatherings and events. And then there are those of us that are just like, you know what? I may not even put up a tree this year. Oh my God, what? When I was a kid, that would never even cross my mind. And now that I have to do all the work, dude, heartfelt blessings and gratitude for my mother for working so hard at both her full-time job, taking care of the family, and also whenever the holidays came around, making sure the decorations got up before Ed Bullard could get home because Dad didn't necessarily mind the decorations. What he didn't like was the fluff putting up the decorations. And me as a tow-headed child, just absolutely enamored with Christmas, of course, because huge shout out to making all those kinds of things happen. Now that I am here living, on my own, doing the things and being an adult, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with no children or grandchildren or young people that will ever come into my living space, there's part of me that's just like, you know what? I would love to go to a shopping center and look at their decorations or drive through a certain, special event venue and enjoy the holiday decoration and festivities there. But decorating my own home for the holidays, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I will turn on the Hallmark channel. I'll put on the gas logs, and I will make something delicious or spicy or whatever for the holiday, and that's great. All of these things to some people sound so unbelievably miserly, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because the picture that I have in my mind is me with my spectacles on the tip of my nose and being all like grimacing and grumpy and grouchy. She said, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I don't want to do this. And you know what? I'm just going to have to own that. If somebody wants to say that kind of stuff to me, they're like, well, you're really in a foul temper. I'm not. I'm not in a foul temper. What I am is exhausted. I am so unbelievably tired of dealing with some of these things that just don't offer the same kind of payoff for the investment that I choose to make whenever I do them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, ugh. So it's going to appear like I'm the bad guy to some folks. And I promise you that's never my intention. However, if after hearing this explanation for that, you still want to paint me as the villain, darling, size me for a big old black hat. This pumpkin needs a big one. Go for it. And make it just as dark as you want. Make it just as tall as you want. If you want to get the boots to go with it, gift them. I'm here for it. Absolutely. I love a pair of boots. I mean, yes. I haven't had a really nice pair of cowboy boots in a while. I had some Ropers a million years ago that I loved. Had them for 20 years. I'd still have them if my little pinky toes didn't fall off the sides and poke right through the leather. I will wear your bad guy costume if that makes you feel better about me taking care of myself. Okay? And I encourage you to do the same. Entering my villain era doesn't mean that I'm out there to mistreat anybody. It doesn't mean that I'm out there, kicking puppies or parking in handicap spots. What it does mean is that I am going to stand up for myself. I'm going to make stronger choices for my free time. And if that steps on people's toes, please understand that's not my intention to step on you. It's my intention to take care of me. And though I love, and I'm so grateful for these invitations, and I hope they continue to come in the Facebook or the mailbox or the text message or wherever it is they come, on occasion, I'm going to have to watch out for me. And that's not me trying to be awful to anyone. That's just me trying to be better to me. I lived through a very full year and we got 3 months left. And I'll tell you what, friends, I nap often. And I'm looking at my picture in this recording that we're doing, and I see these bags under my eyes, and I realize, I'm still tired. And I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up. So what that means is I'm just going to have to make sure that I recharge myself in ways other than sleep as well, by time apart, by taking care of myself, by traveling, by doing the things that I love that restore my passion battery, that just fill me up as a person. And sometimes that does not include other persons. And that's okay. Other things too, setting boundaries, making sure when people speak to you in a way that you don't find okay, that you don't just walk away from it, but whenever you've had a moment to kind of recollect yourself, you go to that person and say, the way that you are speaking to me is unacceptable. I don't appreciate that. And the reason I'm bringing it up to you in such a candid fashion is the fact that I am not upset. I was. I took my moment. I sorted my emotions. And now I've come back to tell you that that sort of interaction will no longer be tolerated. That's going to hit a few people real hard. And I mean, right square in the chops, too. Pop. Some people are not going to be able to take that criticism. It isn't even criticism. They're going to be able to take that feedback because that's what that is. It's not criticism. It's feedback. You're speaking to me in a way that you may think is utterly acceptable. Please let me inform you right now that it is not. And that's going to take some folks aback. It really is. It's going to hit them right square in the feels, and they're going to get their feathers ruffled. They're going to get their hiney on their shoulders. And some folks are going to double down. Seen a lot of that in the last few years. Seen a whole lot of folks that have done things that are wrong. Now, we don't love labels around here. We say that a lot. They've done things that are wrong, and why I can feel very confident in putting that on there because they make someone feel bad. They put things to them in a way, and even with the finest and the purest of intention, they say things that they think are helpful, which actually turn out to be not. And if anything, maybe they are not helpful. They are actually pretty harmful. That person may be on a journey. They may already have a plan, and then you come in there trying to help, and it doesn't. It doesn't. And when they bring that to your attention and say that I don't appreciate the way that went, I think enough of us and our friendship that I want to bring that to your attention, because if you continue speaking to me in such fashion, I'm going to distance myself from you for my own protection. And there are people out there, they're going to not love that. Instead of seeing that as a really brave step in a potentially damaging situation for a friendship or relationship, they're going to get fluffy. And they're going to say something to you like, oh, don't be so sensitive, or any number of things that are shifting the blame back to you instead of giving credit for what it was, which is an honest plea for someone to treat you in a different fashion because the way they were treating you is not conducive to a healthy or loving relationship, in your opinion. That's okay too. I'm doing a lot of coming into the microphone really, really closely because I think it's so important to understand that a lot of these things that we're doing are healthy. They are what strong people do. And I want us all to be stronger. I've said that so many times: kinder, bigger, better, stronger, more loving, all these kinds of things. And I believe that saying these kinds of things, that you do not tolerate people, even loved ones, even your favorite people can step outside the line sometimes. And yes, sometimes we can absolutely be a little more sensitive than others. It's okay to say that too. Hey, you know what? It's been a really long year. I would appreciate just a little bit of grace. And whenever you come to speak to me about this particular thing, I really don't like it when you say XYZ, specific examples, very lovingly and respectfully offered, with the expectation that these things will be done in future exchanges. I didn't realize. I know you didn't realize. That's why I'm telling you, because I honestly in my heart believe that you would never have spoken to me in a way that would be hurtful to me, which is why I needed to take a moment and understand that for myself, come to grips with it, and then come to you and say, "This is what happened. I did not love it. I would prefer it if it didn't happen again. Thank you." If it does continue to happen, you can phrase it differently, more strongly, those kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I want to continue. And I use the word villain era, a little tongue in cheek. I like it. It makes me laugh because it's just funny to me thinking of myself as the villain in someone's story. I am. We are. I think all of us have the potential to be someone's villain, the bad guy in someone's scenario. And I think that we should give that just a little bit of space for a hot second. Ah, I try to be a good person. Absolutely, you do. I have every faith and confidence you do. I go to church. I do this. I do that. I do all the things that good people do. I'm good to my friends. I volunteer my time at the homeless shelter. Like any number of things that, yes, are definite indicators of being a good person. In someone's story, somewhere, you are the bad guy. And I've said this once or twice before, and people have said to me, and I think it's so kind of them to say, like, "No, James, I don't think how you could be the villain in somebody." Yes, make no mistake, James Edward Bullard of Nectar, Alabama origin and Las Vegas presently is 172% the villain in someone's story for whatever reason. Now, did I set out to be that? Ooh, confession in one or two folks' lives? I 100% did. Hell yes, I did. I showed up to mess somebody's business up. I came to rain on their parade. I came to tie their shoelaces together. I came to flick them on the ear. I came to pinch that little meaty part on the back of their arm. I sure did. Ooh, boy. Wanted to leave a blood blister too, not just a little nip. No, I wanted to make sure that person felt it and they got a mark. Well, that's not very nice. No, it is not. Some people have entered into my life and they have done things to me and they have tried to make my life difficult or miserable or any number of things on purpose. Some people have been in my life and they've tried to help me in a way that was not conducive to being helpful. They were not malicious. It did not change the fact that it wasn't helpful and I didn't know how to do it any better. And so I might have done it poorly. And so for whatever reason, I may be the bad guy in their situation. And that's just something I'm going to have to make my own peace with. If they come to me and want to make it better, I would love to hear them out. I would love to make amends if that is possible. And I would love to move forward. Understand if after bringing it to my attention and telling me what they feel and what I did, I will apologize for them feeling that way if I feel as though my actions were justified. Know what I'm saying? Well, you spoke so mean to me, and I can't believe that you would turn on me like that, and not taking into account what they may have done that led up to that conversation. And I will 100% apologize. And for some people, that's plenty, and for some people, that's what gets us all back on track. I am so sorry you felt that way. From what I recall, that was a really difficult conversation for me to have with you because you crossed a line that could not be overlooked. And trust me, I want to overlook a lot of things. I don't want to be precious. I also don't want to be disrespected. And whenever something hits me just dead in the core of my values and it doesn't land right and it makes a ripple, I'm going to need to take a minute just to make sure that I'm checking in. I'm going to look through it. I'm going to make sure that what is about to happen, meaning this conversation, meaning this very candid come to Jesus that you and I, perhaps others, are going to have. And I'm going to want to do my best with it. If for whatever reason you bring these kind of things to my attention, and I think that maybe I was outside the lines, maybe I did overreact, I'm really happy you bring that to my attention. I don't want to be the villain in everybody's story. I don't mind being the bad guy in one or two. I said what I said. There are folks out there that are 100% going to want to push and push and push and push and push and just expect you to take every single inch of it. I'm here to say you don't, because there's a ledge, and it's either you push back to keep from falling over or you just allow somebody to shove you into the abyss. Don't let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen to myself anymore if I can help it. And if I got to push, if I have to get more assertive with it, that's just going to have to happen. I don't love it. I don't love it. It's not one of those things. I try to talk and reason and do better and be better and smarter and kinder. And I understand that whenever people come at me, chances are really, really good this person is going through something that they don't know how to process. It's tearing them up on the inside. And the best thing I can do is give them grace. The worst thing I can do for me is give them so much grace that it pushes me off a ledge. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not. And I encourage you to be more mindful of you. I prefer to think that most folks who tune into this podcast are here for a reason. We are here to unlock something inside us that is perhaps sometimes just a little difficult to access. Life comes at us fast. It's an election year, and I will tell you, I don't mind saying it. It makes me crazy to think that there are an appreciable number of people out there that want to vote for someone who drove us absolutely crazy town for 4 years, made a mockery of one of the most powerful positions in the world, and he's right here back again. And there's some of y'all out there, yes, pointing fingers, listen, get mad about it, die that way. Don't give a care. Can you hear it? This is the villain speaking. It shocks me. Vote for who you want to vote for. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is I don't understand. I don't get it. And I'm not asking you to explain it to me. Vote for your candidate. Do your thing for who you think is going to do the best job. Don't tell me or try to sway me that you're doing it for a good reason. Your reason is yours. I don't see how that works. See what I'm saying here? And that's going to put me on the villain radar for a lot of folks. And that's okay. I made my peace with that too. And it's one of those things too where, we can have a conversation about it. Whenever you come up with something that has no fact, no basis, no this, no that, and the other, in any conversation, literally any conversation. If a lot of these things are very much passion based, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody, I'm just going to excuse myself. I'm like, no, no. That's why I don't ask about these things. Do we need to talk about politics? Yes. Do we need to talk about religion? Absolutely. I think we've put a taboo on those two things that have made them unapproachable for folks whenever they have differing opinions, because people are ready and willing to cut people out of their lives because of politics. It's happened. It continues to happen. It will continue to happen until we learn how to be better, smarter people, having these kinds of discussions and understanding that I'm not attacking you whenever I don't understand why you're voting this way. I don't understand whenever you tell me that you believe a certain way and you call yourself a Christian or a Muslim or a this or a that or another, and you want to say that you're a good person, and the way that you conduct your life does not show me that. Two separate ideas, just so we're clear. I don't want to say that someone's a bad person for voting a certain way. That's not it. I'm saying I don't understand. I don't get it, and I am exhausted with trying to understand. And so I don't have to understand. Your vote is yours. Your whole thing is yours. I think the reason that we're in as sticky a situation as we are right now in the year of our 2024 is the fact that we have treated it as a taboo topic for so long that the people that are talking about it are only talking about it with people who believe the same way they do, who feel the same way about running the nation or running the world the way they do. And so they find like-minded individuals. We get an echo chamber and we forget to take other opinions into account, other viewpoints. If we don't all get together and find the similarities in who we are and how we worship and how we see the whole world spinning on its axis and the universe being brought into creation and all these other sort of things coming into existence, however you choose to see it, view it, believe in it. I think when we bring a lot of other people with a lot of differing opinions into the same room and have respectful, intelligent conversations where we listen to understand instead of waiting our turn to speak, I think that a lot of these things will rectify themselves. Villan Era, Don't be scared. Twirl your mustache. Wear your hat. Wear your boots. Get your spurs out if you want to. Whatever makes you feel threatening, do it. Because sometimes folks need a little slap upside the head. Not literally, though maybe literally. I don't encourage it. People need to give you their attention. If something runs away from you, if something meaning a situation or whatever, and it gets to a point where it really bothers you, you need to bring that to someone's attention so that they don't do that again. I'm not a huge fan of ghosting. I've done it. I don't love it. I think that is not an adult way to handle one's business. Hope that's okay to say. I'm saying it. I think that conflict resolution is a talent and a skill that a lot of us have sort of let fall to the wayside, and I hate that for us. I really do. I don't love it. I really don't enjoy it. I've got several friends in my life that are very good at it, and I want to be more like that. And I love the way that they do it. I think that sometimes a phone call, I think face to face for me is usually the best way. However, if that can't get handled and sorted in a timely fashion, I think that a telephone call, a text message, and email also will accomplish a lot of the same sort of thing. And that will paint you in a darker light for some people. And for others, hopefully other like-minded individuals, adults who want to do better and be stronger, they'll see it for what it is, which is literally it's you throwing a rope. This happened. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I'm disillusioned. I'm any number of things. And I want to bring it to your attention because I don't want to feel this way in regards to our relationship again. And in order to avoid that, this needs to happen or this never needs to happen again. And I'm telling you because I want our relationship to continue to grow, prosper, and I want to cultivate this relationship that we have. If you phrase it right, I don't know how any reasonable, rational person is going to want to continue with this behavior that you don't enjoy. And watch for the signs. They're there. It's really simple. Like if somebody, it always boggles my mind whenever someone's supposed to be someone who loves me as much or more than anybody else in the world can say something awful, can say something hurtful. I'm just like, okay, was that a motivational type something? Because I would prefer we change the channel on that. That was not enjoyable for me. So thank you. I choose to think spirit behind it was great. It was very positive. And also, you're going to need to adjust that before the next time you whip that one out on me. Take care of you. Too many people give too much. And then too many people don't give anywhere near enough. They continue to take and take and take and take and take. Whenever you start not giving, they might look elsewhere to take, which may not be the desired outcome necessarily. Though I want to make sure that you understand that there are people out there that are willing to give just as much as you are. You just got to find them. You got to play. You got to get out there and just, put some feelers out. And I know how hard that is as an adult. I do. I get it. In school, when you're children, it's so simple. People learn, they grow. They're always mashed together in a situation where you basically have to be friends. It's a sink or swim situation. Being an adult is not easy for that, especially. Not to say it's impossible. Here we are again, friends. The end of another half hour of Radical Joy. I love the time we get to spend together. Thank you so much for listening. If this is your first episode, welcome. We are thrilled you're here. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. Thank you for finding value in what we try to do here at Radical Joy with CLW Studios. If you're the review kind of person, please make sure you can go ahead and leave a 5-star review for us wherever it is that you listen. We would love to know. Take a screenshot of that, send it to us so that we can reward you with a sticker. Now, we are currently going through a very exciting time. We're putting a new face on the podcast because we're coming up on 2 years of Radical Joy. And so that sticker may look a little different than what you're used to seeing here with all of the branding with Radical Joy on social media and out and about and abroad. So whenever you do that, whenever you make your review, please submit it so we can go ahead and send you a little bit of swag to say thank you. Put it on a water bottle, a computer, a bumper, a journal, wherever it is you feel like putting it. We love knowing that we're a part of your day to day. And also, please, friends, know we could not do this without you. Thank you so much for your support, for coming back to listen and be with us and share the love with others. And if you find something in this that you think is valuable or useful, tell folks about it. The most valuable way of getting this word out is by telling your friends what you get out of listening to Radical Joy, if anything. And as always, please understand, it's a huge help to me. Which means whenever I say this, please understand, I mean it. Love y'all. Thank you for taking time to share a moment of joy and hope with me. We're so grateful you're here. If this is your first time, take a moment to check out our archive. See if there's something else in there that fires you up, rekindles the joy in you. Hey, spread the word if you got something out of being with us today. We welcome your thoughts and suggestions. Now, I rarely run out of things to talk about, but if there's something I haven't covered that's on your mind or heart, I want to hear from you. To learn more about me and CLW Studios, follow the links in the show notes. Hey, don't forget, when you leave Radical Joy a review, be sure to send us a screenshot. We'll send you some kick-ass swag to show our gratitude. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988 to reach the National Crisis Lifeline. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Everything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Have a great one, and we will see you next week for another dose of Radical Joy. Love y'all.